Today on the show, we're going to be doing a beginner's guide to the Teen Titans. If you're a fan of the cartoon and want to get into reading the comics, then this show is for you. So let's get right into this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Teen Titans, the Titans, and we'll quickly touch on Young Justice, although Young Justice isn't directly related to the Teen Titans. So what you need to understand about the cartoon is, as much as it did its best to adapt the stories in the comics, it didn't try to adapt the characters in the comics because it couldn't for one reason or another. For example, in the comics, Starfire is actually a very, very sexual being. She always has been that way. Raven was an avatar for depression, and at the time, you just didn't put stuff like that in children's cartoons. And as for Tara, well, in the comics, she was a legitimate psycho. Like, she was a 16-year-old girl sleeping with a 40-year-old man, and she didn't care about the Titans at all. They made her a much nicer character in the cartoon. So if you have never read a Teen Titans comic, I want you to take everything you think you know about the Teen Titans just from the cartoon and throw it out the window for this video. So before we get into the Teen Titans comics themselves, you have to understand the true tonality of the Teen Titans comics. The Teen Titans is a drama soap opera starring superheroes. It's not really a superhero comic. Yeah, there are action scenes there would be because it stars superheroes, but they usually only last around 1 or 2 pages, and sometimes we won't have any action for issues on end, and it will meet a climax in a much later issue. The books were aimed at adults, so much so that for most of the 1980s, the Teen Titans didn't even have teens in it, to the point that the word teen was eventually dropped from the title. So there have been 5 runs of a book called Teen Titans. There's also been the New Teen Titans, the New Titans, and 2 runs of a book simply called Titans. The most important runs for you to take note of, in my opinion, are the 1980s New Teen Titans along with the New Titans, 2003's Teen Titans, and 2008's Titans. These are considered some of the best runs of the Teen Titans, and the evidence in that is in the fact that all of these books lasted considerably longer than any of the other runs. So I know I mentioned Young Justice at the beginning of this video, so you might be thinking, well, where does Young Justice fit into all of this? Well, it doesn't. Young Justice was a team formed by Tim Drake as Robin, Superboy, and Impulse in the 90s, and then eventually Secret, Arrowette, and Wonder Girl would also join the team. And this is what's largely considered the true Young Justice team. Although other members would join along the way, these beginning 6 are Young Justice in the eyes of a lot of people, including me. The point of Young Justice was for it to not be taken seriously whatsoever, whereas the TV show wanted to be taken seriously, and because of that, it really had no business calling itself Young Justice. So the way Young Justice fits into the Teen Titans is through one comic event called Graduation Day, which crossed over the Titans with Young Justice, and Graduation Day saw the death of Donna Troy and Omen. The kids in Young Justice hadn't really experienced death of another hero that close and personal before, and because of that they were just like, right, well, we're done, we can't have fun together anymore, okay, I'm leaving, bye, see you later. Then Starfire, Beast Boy, and Cyborg would basically say, okay, these kids in Young Justice can't really cope with death, we need to give them an outlet. So they created a weekends-only Teen Titans in training for the kids that were in Young Justice. And this is where the 2003 run of the Teen Titans started. Now, the Titans over the years have had close to 100 members, but here is a quick guide to the starting members of each run of the Titans. So when the Titans first started in the 1960s, we had Dick Grayson as Robin, Wonder Girl, who would later on become Donna Troy, Wally West as Kid Flash, and Aqualad, and eventually Aqualad would leave the series so Speedy could join the team. It was done like this because back in the 1960s, groups of 4 were really popular, and that's why the Teen Titans was created, because the Beatles were a group of 4. The Titans should be a group of 4, and that's just why the series started. There's not anything deeper than that at all. It's in this run that we were introduced to a lot of concepts such as the Titans East, but it wouldn't be until the 1980s run of the Teen Titans that we got the Titans Tower. So the 1980s Teen Titans was actually formed by a brand new character called Raven. And this series would also introduce us to two more brand new characters, Starfire and Cyborg. It would also reintroduce us to Beast Boy from the Doom Patrol, who was now going by the Changeling. And of course, it would reintroduce us to Wally West as Kid Flash, Dick Grayson as Robin, and Donna Troy as Wonder Girl. The 1980s team was ever changing and ever expanding and ever shrinking, and by the time the series was cancelled in 1996, it just didn't look anything like how it started. The new Teen Titans is objectively the most important run of the Teen Titans. First off, it served to distance the Teen Titans from the Justice League. They did this by making Kid Flash leave the series when it was announced that Wally West was going to become the Flash, and by making Dick Grayson into Nightwing so he wasn't directly associated with Batman anymore. It's also the 1980s run of the Teen Titans that made Dick Grayson one of the first, and to this day one of the only, overly sexualized males in DC Comics. Moving on to the 90s, there would be a group that called themselves the Teen Titans, but we don't need to talk about them. Their nickname is the Atoms Titans. They literally have nothing to do with any of the other runs of the Teen Titans. It is the worst run of the Titans. So 2003's run of the Teen Titans first started out with Tim Drake as Robin, Cassie Sandsmark as Wonder Girl, Superboy, and then Bart Allen initially started out as Impulse but would quickly become Kid Flash. This was the first time that we had a Kid Flash since the 80s, so it was a very, very exciting thing at the time for Impulse to graduate to the mantle of Kid Flash. The series was made around the same time that the cartoon started airing, and because of that, when it first started, it was kind of similar to the cartoon, but then it gradually became more and more dark, and DC was like, okay, just disassociate that from the cartoon, and it eventually just became like a weird merge of the 1980s Teen Titans and its own thing. It's actually because of this run of the Teen Titans and the Robin series that stars Tim Drake that makes Tim Drake DC's most financially successful Robin in comics to this day. Now moving on to Titans. Now this was actually the second time there had been a book called Titans, but this book served to reunite the characters that were in the new Teen Titans, and it did a very successful job for 23 issues until they changed team. So while the team was reunited and together, it did a lot of very emotional and important things for these characters, like it split up Dick Grayson and Corey for good. Like, it was essentially DC saying, we're done with that, we don't want to write that anymore, please stop making us write it. And it was brilliantly done. I still cry every time I read it, but by that point, I didn't want them to be together anymore, so I don't really mind that DC did that. Some characters are made to be together, like Superman and Lois Lane. Superman can have relationships with Wonder Woman, Power Girl, but no matter what, he will end up back with Lois Lane. Dick Grayson and Starfire were not made to be together. Starfire is a very sexual character and naturally wants to explore the world and experience it to its fullest potential. And Dick Grayson had a long history before Starfire even came on the scene. And because of that, the two of them can be in a relationship, but they will never stay together for too long. If I were to compare Dick Grayson and Starfire to another comic book relationship, I'd have to compare them to Gambit and Rogue, where it's just been done so much, it's dead. Eventually, a totally different team would take over this book from issue 24 onwards. This was done because most of the characters in this book had commitments in other books, like Dick Grayson became Batman. Wally West was the Flash, so he was always busy, and it just was impossible to keep them together and keep it in DC's canon, so they just were like, okay, well, we'll just create a totally new team. And that's exactly what they did by having Deathstroke form his own Titans. This was a pretty impressive run. It didn't do anything that we hadn't already seen, like Deathstroke had already created his own team of Titans in the past, so it was okay. It didn't do anything new, but it was fun, and it lasted right up until the New 52. So in the New 52, so far there have been 2 runs of the Titans, one by Scott Lobdell, which was absolutely terrible, and a new one, which again is absolutely terrible. And Greg Pak is about to write the Teen Titans, and I am very, very scared because I haven't enjoyed anything he's written for DC. Like, he wrote Batman, Superman, and Action Comics, and I wasn't a fan of his run of either of those. But I have to say, I loved what he did over at Marvel with Phoenix Endsong. So if he writes the Teen Titans like he wrote Phoenix Endsong, I'm gonna be very, very, very happy and very excited, probably talking about it every week on this channel. But if he writes the Teen Titans like he writes Batman, Superman, not going to be too happy. Going to be very sad because that will be the third bad run at the Titans in a row. In conclusion, if you want to read the Teen Titans for yourself, I would say start with either the 2003 run of the Teen Titans or the 1980s New Teen Titans or 2008's Titans. You could also start by reading the New 52's Teen Titans, but like I said, that wasn't very good. Or you can wait until Greg Pak takes over the title and just start that as a jumping on point, because a new writer always means this is a jumping on point. I'll put links down below to mycomicshop.com to where you can get all the mentioned runs of the Teen Titans. Okay guys, that is it for today. So what's your favorite run of the Teen Titans? Please note in the comments down below. Also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more history videos. Also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon if you want to see bigger and better and more history videos. Also don't forget to subscribe to my vlogging channel if you'd like to start a day with me every single day. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.